So you want to create your own original character, but you don't know where to start. Today I'm going to be giving you 5 steps for how to create your own original character from scratch. Step 1 is background. I am talking about background such as, where does this character come from? What do they believe? What do they think? You probably want to jump right into the designing stage, but it's also really important to know the backstory behind your character and not just what they look like. Yes. Good girl. You may already have an idea of what you want, or you have no ideas at all, so this is a good place to start either way. Ask yourself questions like, how does he think? What's his personality like? What's his family like? What's his species? These things are important questions to ask so you don't end up with some little wolf character that just looks cool but doesn't have any story behind it. For this example, I'm going to be using a character I'm in the middle of designing. For this character, I wanted to make an elf. But I wanted to make it different than the elves you normally think of. If you think of an elf, you think of Lord of the Rings elves that are beautiful and elegant, or you think of short little stubby elves that are Santa's helpers. I didn't want either of these. So I decided to make a mind map. Now, what's a mind map? Basically, you start with an idea and you branch out from there. It can just be simple words or phrases or full completed ideas. And I'm going to show that on the screen, the mind map I did for this specific character. I'm not going to get too much into it, but I made a mind map of the specific species that this character was going to come from. What are their living habits? What's their personality? What do they look like? What are their clothing? And doing this helped me figure out what she was going to look like before I even started. I decided that these elves were going to look a little more mischievous and they were going to be tricksters. So I decided that since they were going to like to play pranks on people, they probably wear a lot of gear and a lot of things, a lot of clothing that was very functional. Also, if they like to play pranks and they're very mysterious, you'd think they'd be wearing dark clothes so they're not noticeable. So those are 2 things I learned before I even know what this character looks like. That's why this mind map is so important. So from here, I went with a steampunk style because I thought that would fit well with the character, but also giving them dark clothing, more leather and less metal, but still going along that steampunk style. I decided that I was going to go with more sharp edges, and by that I mean there's just no soft, rounded areas. Everything's more rigid and stiff looking, and it makes the character look more hardcore. Branching out from this mind map sparked new ideas for me, and this is why it's important to figure out the background first, and it really helps you figure out the personality later. Step 2 is research. So now you know a little bit of background about your character, and hopefully you wrote some of these thoughts down. You probably need to research about the things you don't know about very well. Of course, I want to do steampunk, but I don't know much about steampunk, other than a little ideas of what it looks like. I like to research on Pinterest because it's visual, and it really helps me since I'm visual being an artist. So I went on Pinterest and I just searched steampunk, I scrolled through, and I just found some steampunk ideas. I even made a steampunk board, and it really helped me spark some ideas for the initial design. The research I did helped me figure out a design according to the background I already decided on. Step 3 is basic design. So now we have a background and a little idea about our character, so it's time to get designing. Time for the fun part where you decide what your character is going to look like. Use the background you've made and the research you've looked up to incorporate that into your character. So keep that in mind while you're designing, and hopefully you made a mind map because it's really helpful for this type of thing. You can go back to your words and phrases, and it may help you figure out more about what your character is going to look like. Since I decided that my character wasn't going to have rounded or soft edges, that's where a lot of the design came from. I like the idea of a cloak and leather and buckles because of the steampunk idea, so that's where all of that came from. What you really want to make sure is that the personality of your character shows through in what they wear. Just like people, we wear what represents a personality, so you want somebody to look at your character and have an idea of what the personality is before they even know anything about them. Moving on to step 4 is perspective. Once I get a basic design, I like to draw out the character in full costume and full color so I can get a better idea of what the design looks like. Take time in this step to draw your character with the design you made in different poses. Look at the clothing you made at different angles and see, does this still work? Is it still functional when they're in certain positions? And figure out if there's any tweaking that needs to be made. Step 5 is repeat. Just keep on evaluating all of the steps you did and keep on tweaking until you get that perfect character. Well, there you go. Now you have a full character design and all your own. I hope this was helpful for you guys, and if you use the template I made or went along these steps to make your own character, be sure to tag me on Instagram as Shipwreck Samantha or comment down below, or you can email me the picture. If you make something with this tutorial, please let me know, and I'd love to see it. Also, if you haven't already, but you'd like to be sure to join my pirate crew by hitting subscribe. And I have a question for you guys. What do you think is the most important part about an original character? Be sure to comment your thoughts down below, and I will see you guys in the next video.